Fashion is like the odd friend that hangs around, but nobody really minds. He's always changing up his style, exclusively listens to underground bands, and wears skirts, which are actually quite cool. I gotta try that out. But no matter how weird it gets, we like fashion. The fashion industry is kind of weird too. Essentially, it's just business, but its appeal to the people makes it feel more like an entertainment industry the way sports are, bringing us great stories, inventions, and ideas to bicker between friends for the small price of admission. Hello people, Properly Fashioned here. Today we're breaking down runway fashion in its simplest forms. We're going to be looking at the industry fundamentals, runway shows, market categories, seasons, and the art of design. If you're new to fashion or need a refresher, this video will catch you up to speed on most of the fashion industry. And I also made a playlist on fashion education, which you could find in my channel page. As always, we're going to be approaching these points from a design perspective. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Most sources define fashion as a popular trend at a particular time, place, and in a specific context, be it physical adornment or manners of behavior. However, popular would be too strong a word to describe fashion. I'd say something is considered fashionable when it is exclusive and not yet widely recognized. It's a fleeting period in which participants aim to catch it for a brief moment to bask in the limelight at a time when a fashionable look sits at the brim of becoming mainstream. Most commonly associated with trends, the fashionable timeline looks something like this. An item comes into existence, perhaps it's a type of dress or even a color. It sits at the back of the field laying dormant because it's widely unrecognized, but eventually someone brings it out of its slumber, usually the trendsetters and the rich, and it starts picking up steam. This is the fashion window. When it becomes mainstream, everyone who wasn't invested in fashion adopts the item at which the trendsetters have already moved on. This is known as the trickle-down theory, where the upper class creates fashion and the lower class imitates their style in hopes to fit into that society. But to separate themselves from the masses, the upper class will continuously abandon previous styles when they become too popular, and the lower class will continuously follow in pursuit, so that you have this never-ending tug of war. But back to the timeline. In a couple of years, the trend will lose its value and fall into the fiery pits of hell in discount stores to sit until it is picked back up into its moment of fame once more. Generally speaking, it's the job of the fashion designer and their team to catch a fashion trend at or before its peak, before the masses adopt it, to maximize revenue and stay ahead of the curve. Or they could even create the trend or fashion of the time, as seen with some of the greats like Coco Chanel. The runway shows exist for the purpose of displaying the work to show upcoming pieces for sale. So, if you, like myself, tried to enjoy a runway show for its glamour and thought, well, this is kind of boring, that's because it's not meant for you, the consumer. It's for the journalists, retail buyers, and shop owners who are looking to fill their stores with the latest and greatest looks. Again, we see this manufactured idea of being ahead of the curve as a strong motivator for people to spend money and the main reason the fashion industry exists. And this dates back to hundreds of years ago when the wealthy could differentiate themselves from the rest with a highly visible and essential form of identification: clothing. You might hear the word avant-garde being thrown around here and there by your snobby friends. It means experimental, radical, innovative. It's high fashion runway shows which traditionally had one purpose: to sell directly to consumers with over 100 looks at a time for them to buy on site. Nowadays, runway shows are non-essential and are mostly for the media. During lockdowns, many labels have opted to display fashion in different mediums like films and even video games, although with varying levels of success. The standard runway is a T-shaped stage with seating on all three sides. The model walks up and down, posing at the end of the catwalk for her picture. But changing up the typical often yields more engaging shows for the audience, seen by the likes of this Issey Miyake Spring Summer 2020 show, and this is just pure art. As a rule of thumb in fashion, being different is a good thing. These are the main categories of the market, and excuse my French. Haute couture is exclusive handmade clothing. Typically, a patron would order a dress seen from the show, and after around 3 fittings and many man-hours, the dress would be delivered. Hopefully, they wear it somewhere nice. Prêt-à-porter, aka ready-to-wear, aka still unaffordable to 90% of the population, are off the rack to purchase. Sometimes you might see large labels do a women's wear show and a ready-to-wear collection in the same season, just to hit more of an audience. Fun fact, most brands make their money from selling the accessories and not the garments themselves. Gucci, for example, started as a leather goods label and slowly took the logical step into fashion. So a lot of the times you might see the cameras pan towards the bags to emphasize that to the audience as well. Diffusion lines and bridge lines, for example, CDG Play and CK for Calvin Klein. So what you'll see are less creative silhouettes where they might slap a logo on it and still sell. Generally, they appeal more to the younger audience. And finally, fast fashion, which is a whole nother industry for another video, but sometimes you do see large haute couture labels pair up with fast fashion brands like Uniqlo and H&M to sell less designy collabs. For example, H&M did a collab with Comme des Garçons in 2008, and they were still impressive pieces, but of lower quality and not totally revolutionary. I wouldn't expect the typical H&M market to buy these more outrageous pieces, but it does offer the Comme des Garçons enjoyer an opportunity to buy some of their favorite designer pieces for a cheaper price. There are 4 seasons in fashion, but whether you see them on the runway depends on the brand, the cost, and whether they felt like doing it or not. Traditionally, the main 2 seasons that you will see are fall-winter and spring-summer, and the optional seasons are resort and pre-fall. Many designers complain about the oversaturation of seasons because they're working 24/7, and you really don't need to be buying that many clothes. But hey, capitalism. The shows are presented 6 months before their actual seasons begin because, again, it's for the retail buyers, the Rachel Greens, and chosen pieces hit the shelves a couple weeks later for consumers to buy before the start of the actual season. The main fashion cities are New York, London, Milan, Paris, and they go in that order. So twice a year, the journalists, buyers, and enthusiasts travel from city to city, from New York to London to Milan to Paris, to watch the local brands' shows. But more and more cities are getting their own fashion weeks. Here's how you could get your city to host a fashion week. Step 1, have money. When designing your collection, keep in mind the seasonal trends. For fall/winter, the traditional colors are gray, black, taupe, along with trending colors. The fabrics are textured and heavy to suit the weather, and you'll usually see dressier fabrics for special occasions like velvets, lace, and satins. For spring and summer, you'll see larger collections with an emphasis on layering for ease of adjustment to the weather and temperatures. Silhouettes are transitionals with fabrics of cotton and silk, which are both lighter in color and in weight. And summer has bright saturated colors, fabrics, and bold prints. Speaking of design, fashion shows raise a lot of eyebrows, and as explained, it's not necessarily made to be worn practically. I like to think of high fashion as wearable sculptures in which the idea presented is the important part. However, in reality, it's more of a spectrum, so I devised a Venn diagram to categorize labels. One side of the brands are based on heritage and history. These are your name brands like Gucci, Chanel, Fendi. They can sell pieces from their name alone and have an existing customer loyalty. On the other side, we have the newer, more artistic brands which often need to be more creative and design-oriented like Craig Green, Colleen Strada, and Peter Doe. And in the middle are those who create cool things and have a history. So you have Margiela, Comme des Garçons, Mugler even. Of course, this is not simple because brands are volatile and this is subjective, and because there are so many more categories and things are always changing and nothing will stay the same forever. But hey, if you like this video, my name is Jeff, and on this channel we talk a lot about fashion, art, and the creative process. I do a mix of educational videos like the one you're watching right now, how-tos, and art talks, which are my personal favorites. If you like what you see and would like to join our growing community, feel free to subscribe for more. Appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Nice drip, yo. Nice drip. Nice. Nice.